Hi, welcome back to my channel. I've been doing the Teddy Mummy and Me backpack by RLR Creations. I love this bag. This is the first one I did. I made it about a year ago. I did change the straps and I added this bit here. I was messing around with the zip and I realised I'd made it too high. I watched Gunar's tutorial on it, and because I was using vinyl and she does cork, she actually cut her A piece at the top shorter, which I did, which I really enjoyed, but then I struggled to get this bit on. So in this bag, which is the one we make in the video, I show you a different way of doing it. I've actually done this as part of the seam and I think it works really well. So if you struggle to get it over the arch, I'll show you how to do it. This is a backpack and a half. I did the straps in the pattern. This is actually the third one I've made. The first one I made, I followed this with the vinyl, but I found that these little bits here were quite hard in the vinyl because it was quite a hard vinyl. So that's something to take into consideration. I've done the elasticated pockets on this one. So this is a fantastic bag. I also used Gunar's tutorial on making the frame, to make the frame, because I'm in the UK and they're not easy to get. I did do gathered pockets inside, but when I'd done it, and you're seeing things, it was all, I pulled them too tight, so it was all scrunched up. So as the bags for me, I've cut the elastic. So when you make it and you're doing the elasticated pockets, don't pull them too tight like I did in the video, because if you do, when you make your bag goes and then you're stuck. So also in the video, I will show you how to correct it later on in the video. I did these connectors wrong because I hadn't done them using, I want to say paper, cotton. I'd done them using vinyl, so I'd done them slightly differently the other two times. This one that I made a second time round does have the insulated insulabite in the front pocket. I did the slip pocket because I thought the vinyl's a bit stiff. I also did, see, it's full of my junk, umbrella. You can see I did waterproof canvas and I did do the zip in this one, but it's quite a long tutorial, and that zip is done exactly the same way as this zip and this zip here, so it is already in there. Something to think about when you're making them is the weight difference, empty, between this one and this one is phenomenal. I used waterproof canvas and vinyl in here, and something I have discovered since I've been making more with waterproof canvas, as it gets really heavy. So this bag is really heavy empty, and it's because I've got lots and lots of waterproof canvas in there. So that is something to be aware of. Maybe do your pockets, if you're going to use waterproof canvas, just use it for the main lining and do everything else, all the pockets and everything, with cotton, because I have done everything with waterproof canvas and it is a heavy bag. This one in comparison is really light, much more squishy, because I have literally just used quilting cotton, G700, which is the UK equivalent of SFF 101, or however you pronounce it, and thermaline, and that's it. So it's really light, So that will be a good, that'll be better to start with. So yeah, it's a fantastic bag, and you can change it in so many different ways. You know, you could add a strip along here. You don't need to add this zipper. The world's your oyster with it, really. So yeah, it's a lot of pattern pieces, so cut them out, go easy, keep track, keep them attached to the pieces of paper. Yeah, so it is, I do show you in another video how I make it easier for me to keep track of everything, so maybe that might help some of you. It is on my YouTube channel. And the other thing I'll do is I'll just quickly show you what I did. So this is your main panel piece A. I have attached mine to cards so it's quicker to cut it all out. I will be making lots more of these, and if you can see, what I've done is I have literally placed this one on top of there, and then I have cut it out just below the line. So I've added a seam allowance, so when you go to sew these two together, and you do it like that and then put it through, that will then give you the seam allowance so that it all fits, and that panel then becomes the same as that panel. What I did slightly different was I did all that, and then I didn't put it together until I'd done the front zipper pocket. So once I'd finished all this bit and made this bit up here, I then sewed the A piece to all of this. So the C piece at the bottom, at the back, so you've still got all your pocket and everything. It just meant that this bit here, I didn't have to stick it on and sew it round, which when I did that I struggled with no end. And so yeah, it's whatever works easier for you guys. If you want to give the pattern a go, I've got the tutorial. I'm sorry it's a long tutorial. I may have to do it in 2 parts. I don't know yet. I haven't actually edited it all yet. But I'm going out today, so I made myself a new bag for the day. So, and actually, I quite match it for a change. There's no purple. So, I hope you like this video, and if you aren't already, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like the video, please leave a like down below or any comments, and I will get back to you when I can. Thank you. Bye. Right, so now we're going to do the handles, the strap connectors, and the backpack straps. So you'll need pieces Q, R, and N. I'm using thermaline, which isn't fusible, so I'm going to use some basting spray just down the middle. So fold your straps in half, and then fold these in half, because we're just going to pop them in the middle so that we can fold around them. So there we go, and then we will take to the iron and we will fold up and we'll fold round. Right, so now we're going to do the connectors, the backpack straps, and the handle straps. I'm using thermaline, which isn't fusible, so I'm using a basting spray. And what I'm doing is, for the backpack straps, finding the middle, and then finding the middle on here, giving it a bit of a spray, and then place it. And the good thing is you can always readjust it if it's not quite in the right place. Now what you're going to do is fold your handles in half, and then in half again, and in half again, and then in half again. And then you'll take them to the iron and give them a good press. So that's your strap, that's your backpack handles done. This one I've already given a press. You can see you've got much neater lines. Your O pieces, sorry, your Q pieces, which are your strap connectors, I have literally folded in half and then folded in half again. And then what we'll do is we will top stitch, and I'll top stitch them all together, but you literally top stitch around it, and then you'll top stitch along here as well. And then with the handles, I've done exactly the same thing. You fold it in half and in half again, and then give it a good iron. So I will now top stitch all of those along the edges. I will go up to a number 3 length stitch on my machine, and then when I've done that I will come back and we can go on to the next step. Okay, so now I've top stitched all of those using my construction length, no, my top stitching length, which is 3. Okay, so now we're going to do number M's, our pieces M's, and we're going to fold them over the amount in the pattern. Give it a good finger press. Do that to all 4. I'm drawing a line and I'm folding to the line. I'm not folding at the line. I'm folding to it. So what we want to do is take these to the machine, to the iron, and give them a good press. And then we are going to place them right sides together, and we're going to stitch all the way down here, round, along and back up to that corner. I'm just going to finger press mine well. I will do a proper iron when I've turned it in the right way. Back to construction length stitch, and then I'm just going to change my foot out. Now we're just going to sew it with the seam allowance stated in the pattern, remembering to start back stitch at the start and finish. Across the end. Now I can do that to all 4. I'll do the other 3 and I will be right back. It's actually only the other one I can't count. We had to cut 4 out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take my pinking shears And I'm just going to cut down the seam allowance ever so slightly, just to help it as you turn it. I'm just cutting the corners so that there's less bulk when we turn it. Move my bin. Now we're going to turn it. This is a dotting tool used for nails. It's actually, I found, really good for turning corners, etc. Right, so just turn the other one and then I will give that a press and I will be back. Right, so I've given them a good iron, and right, so we're going to take our straps, backpack straps now, and if you've got directional fabric, we want the bottom, because this is going to be the bottom. So I'm just having a look to see which side I like. I'll do those two. So we are going to now find the centre. And we are going to draw a line on the side on each one. This is an air erasable pen. Oh, need the centre. Just need it up a bit. Centre, and then we're going to mark from the centre. Just going to cut up a bit. Down there as well. And then we are going to get our strap. And this is where it's really important that you've taken the correct seam allowance, because if you haven't taken the correct seam allowance, you may end up with the M piece being too small for your mine's not quite there, so I'm just going to cut a little bit more off. You can always cut more off, you can't add it back on. Make sure I've got the side I want. with all the messing around. You can see I've got a little tiny bit on this one that's sticking out, so you just want to be careful, maybe not take it quite so close at the top when you cut it off. Still struggling to get mine in. That's in there now. Just takes a bit of working on. I mean, the other thing is if you don't want to do it like this, you could just leave it flat like that, fold the ends over, and then it's just what I've got to hand. You could add your webbing strap on the back, which is actually what I did with my other one I made. I do the same with the other one. Right, I've put the other one on. I've realised I've ever so slightly taken too big a seam allowance on this end piece. So just make sure that you're really spot on with your seam allowance, and then your bit will fit much easier. Now we're going to take that to the machine, and I am going to leave it a construction length stitch. Because it's going to hold a lot of, I'm going to do one more. There's going to be a lot of weight through there, so I've done two lines of stitching to make sure it has actually caught it down both sides. Right, we're now going to add our D-ring, O-ring, whatever ring we are using. I'm using a rectangle. I'm going to pop it in. Now the instructions say just to put it onto this bit, but as I messed up my cutting ever so slightly, I'm going to put it onto the actual seat, the strap, so that I know it's got a good anchor. So they're roughly in the same place. And then again, I'm going to stick to construction length stitch. Luckily, being white fabric with white stitch, it can't be seen. And I'm just going to stitch a box on there. Try again because my bobbin didn't want to work. It didn't work. Okay. Bye. Bye. Have a nice time. done the X on the back. Said mine has gone up a bit higher. Done the X on the back, so that's now got a nice lot of support. So now we'll do the other one. Don't know what happened to my bobbin. Okay, so that's now your two straps done. We now need the webbing and the strap end connectors, which are the letter O. Right, so now we're going to need our strapping and our strap end connectors, which is O. I'm just going to burn the edges of the webbing. It just melts the ends, stops it from fraying. Right. So we're going to place one of the strap connectors and we're going to pop it right side up. I'm going to stick some of the strap end. I'm going to leave some of the strap end hanging over, and we're just going to baste that to the edge. And then we're going to get another one. I'm going to pop it on. And then we are going to sew them together with the seam allowance in the pattern. Going to give this a little trim just along the sides, not across the webbing. So that will now be securely inside. We will take that and give it a good press. If your webbing, just be careful because some webbings melt, so if your webbing melts, don't get the iron near it. So just do the other one. So with your one piece right side up, with some of your webbing sticking out past the end, baste. Just so that when you put the two pieces together, you stitch around them, your webbing stays in place. Remembering start and back stop at the back stitch. A little bit too far, so just back stitch to stitch so that I could make sure I kept my seam allowance. Again, this just helps with the turning of any curves and reducing the bulk when you turn. So now I'll just go and give it a 9. If you're using vinyl, don't iron it. You just have to roll it and finger press it to get it nice and flat. I will give that an iron and then we will top stitch. Right, so now we've ironed that, we're just going to top stitch around that. And we're going to top stitch around it, and then we're going to do an X in the middle. So I'm going to I'm going to go up to top stitch length around the edge. For the X, I'm going to go back down to construction length, just because I have found sometimes the construction length at the top stitch length can pull through in time. There's lots of different ways of doing the X's. I do all sorts of different ways, I can never remember. The X just helps to reinforce your make it stronger, so the weight won't hopefully tear it as easily. Thread. Overshot, just back stitch a couple, back to construction length stitch, which on my machine is about 2.5, and then I'm just on the webbing. X to reinforce the webbing. This is where, if you're using contrast threads, you need to be really careful, because everything shows up. You have a bit more leniency and a little bit more room to maneuver if it's a matching thread, because it doesn't stand out. So that's now your strap ends done. We're now going to move on to the next part. Right, now you're going to want your piece H and I. I do both of mine as the bigger one, bigger size, so that it doesn't matter which way round they go, otherwise I get confused, as one piece is slightly smaller than the other. We need to pop our zip on the zipper tape, so you need to grab the zipper size for the zipper front pocket. I've put mine on. Now I'm just going to bend the ends. Some people use lighters. I use these because I can't always click a a lighter. So now we are going to place the zipper on top, just making sure I've got them the right. Make sure I turn it the but there's a very small difference between the amount. So we're going to want to put the zipper on, fabric right side up, zipper right side up. I'm going to stitch along there using our construction length stitch. Start with the back stitch. The back same pocket is done the same as well. Let's make sure get that there. Anyway, line them up. Open them out. Top stitch down. So you know, I'm going to cut them different. No, the same. Right, so now you're going to want to get your piece A. Okay, so my piece A will look a bit different to your piece A because I'm trying a slightly different construction on the front, and to save some of the width, the bulk, what I've done is I've taken the A piece and I cut it in half. So I cut my A piece in half, and then I added the seam allowance to each one. I took my A and my C, and what I've done is I've cut my A but added a seam allowance to it. So what I will do, and I don't know if it will work, is I'm going to construct the pocket and then I'm going to stitch the two together. So we'll see. So my A piece will look a bit different to your A piece, but it will be done exactly the same. So you want to find the middle. And then we want to mark down the width in the book. The width. Let's mark down what it says in the pattern. Sorry, falling over my own words today. We want to do show up, so air raising will so we want our piece G So to use interfacing, I use the cotton of my lining, or my lining, just because if it's interfacing, I normally end up getting myself in a pickle. Just want to find the middle. I'm going to line the middle up with the middle here. Right. Now we're going to draw a box onto that. So now I'm going to draw down on that. And then down again. Right, so now we're going to take this to the machine and we are going to stitch along those two lines that we just made. Making sure to start and to back stitch at the start and stop. And then with your seam ripper or scissors, yeah. So you've got a box here. I just don't stitch the edges. So you don't want to go past those edges. And then what we're going to do is we're going to leave a V. We'll get as close to the stitching as we can without getting the stitch in. And then what we're going to do is we are going to poke this through, and then we're going to give it an iron. So you want to make sure you turn it through. What I do is, especially as I'm used to working with vinyl and you can't press vinyl, I sort of walk it between my thumbs and give it a rub so that you get a nice edge. I'm going to give that a press and I will be back. Right, so now we're going to get our zipper that we've completed. Just move this that way slightly. And we're going to pop this over it. Now you can add some double-sided tape if it helps, some glue, whatever helps you to stitch this onto. Like double-sided tape for this very reason. I don't have any nails to take it off. Getting hot now. It was cold earlier, now I'm hot. Go. Finally, now you want to make sure whichever way you want your zip to open, it is on that side. So I want mine to open left to right, so I need to make sure my zip is on the left hand side. I'm just going to place this down. Under a little bit more. That's better. I'm just going to cover the. Right, so now we're going to stitch that. Before we get right to the end, let's pull zip through. Now that's the zipping, and now, so this is where when they're cut to the different sizes, there's not quite such a gap, if there's a gap at all, but I'd rather just cut that bit off as and when required. Right, let's cut that bit off, and now we're going to seal the pocket up. making sure to move the front pocket out of the way. So we are only sewing the zipper pocket, so we don't want any of this bit attached to it still. So now we can cut this down, just so that it's not in the way, and then just reburn the edges. Right, now you have your first pocket. Right, now this is where I'm going to go a bit off script. Right, okay, so we are now going to go on to the front pocket. So we're going to need our zip and our piece E, and we will eventually need the other bits, but for now we need to take our zip, we need to add our zipper tabs. Now I do this slightly differently than it says in the pattern, just because this is the way I like to do it. I have marked out, so that line there and that line there is what we need the zip to measure once we've added our tabs. So the way I do it, bar tack here to keep it shut, and just snip, because what we don't want is we don't want the zipper tab in the ends of our thing. So I fold it over and then I fold again. So I've got all raw edges inside, and then I just place it onto that line there. Line that up. Take that. The measurements are all in the pattern anyway. This is just the way I do this bit. And then this side, this one, again I've folded over the edges, finger press them, and then just slide that onto there. So we're making the tabs without having the zip go all the way to the end. It reduces the bulk in the seam at the end. Now we've done that, we're going to take our piece E. Always good to find the middle, because you never know when you're going to need it. Right, so I have a directional, so mine is in the direction, and we are going to the middle of here as well. So we're going to match right side up, wrong side down. And your zipper tabs will be slightly longer than the ends. Then once you've sewn it, because this is the top. Right, so I have actually made a mistake. My zip is now that side, so I actually want my zip to open this side. So let's put that back on. So when you flip it up, your zip opens that way, this way, so you want to pull over to the left. sew that with the given seam allowance. Moving the zip out of the way. Stopping, lifting, zipping the zip back. Now that top piece. Right, so now we need to measure and fold this to the line, not at the line, just to the line. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold it to the line we just stitched. So we'll fold it to the line we've just stitched. So this will encase the zip. So if you want, you could stick some double-sided tape on the back. Whatever helps you to keep it there. And then what we're going to do is turn it over. We're just going to top stitch along. As I said, I've got no idea if this will work, but we will see. So that is now your top piece done. So now we're going to go on to the bottom bit. So we're going to get your 2D pieces. I'm using Thermoline. That will help give it a little bit of coolness. Just not quite. So we'll be cutting everything out wrong today. It looks like it's one of those days. So now with right sides together, we're going to just pinch those there and we're going to sew along them. Back to construction length stitch. Remembering to start and stop. So fold them. So we're just putting the darts in. See, now you've got the darts. So it makes the pocket 3D. Do the same with the front. So now we've done that, put the dart, we're going to place right side up, lay the raw edge of the zipper, so we need the middle again. Again, mark to the middle, connect them together. Oh, couple of clips. So you get a little bit of a wiggle and a jiggle. You might find it easier to cut the thing flush with the zip. Just means then that you can see where you're going. I'm going to sew that. The seam allowance in the pattern. You do this one slightly less because we'll be sewing another one on top. So if you do a slightly smaller seam allowance, then you won't see it when it comes through to the other side. Pull too many pieces off. You might find it easier to unzip the zipper. It's got a bit more give in it then. Oh look, I didn't quite catch that there, so what I'm going to do, little bit of glue, but as good as new. Nobody will ever know the difference. Well, you will, but I will, but no one else will. Okay, that will stick shut. Right, so now let's just stick a clip on it. Right, so now we are going to put our inside pocket and to match our notches up and go to the ends. I just cut the tab off so that I could make sure I can get a nice even finish. So I match the ends up and then I put the middle and then I go to the end and then I manoeuvre the zipper through. It just means then you know what you've got to play with. Now, as we took a smaller seam allowance last time, we take the proper seam allowance this time. That's my zipper pull, so let's move that out the way a little bit. Now let's move my zipper pull back. Right. Where is it? Now this is where it's different. Everything else up till now is the same. This is just where I thought I'd try something different because I struggled to get this bit on the top. So I thought I would do this. Matching all the sides up. Right, now then, we want right, now we want our C piece, find the middle, find the middle here again. Match those up. and then match the bottoms up. Find the centre, that'll be easier. I've added thermaline on the back of here as well, so if you're using your insular blight or whatever else it is that you've got, you would use that there. Thermaline's got some cooling properties, so now match those up. Might help to open it and just give it a poke through. Right, when you've done that, we're just going to baste that all the way around. But also this idea came about originally because I wanted to, what did I want to do? I wanted to, I was using vinyl and it's just a bit much if you add vinyl onto the bit and then add all this on top of it. The seam gets really thick, so So now comes the moment of truth as to whether this will actually work. Let's pin the zip pocket up out the way. Find the middle. Put those on the ends. And as I said, I added the seam allowance that is in the pattern to the piece A and C to allow for this. Do you know what? I'm really quite pleased with that. I'll give that a press and I'll be back. Right, so I'm just going to top stitch along here like it says in the pattern. Back to top stitch length. Now we will put the interfacing one. I'm really pleased with that actually. That's come out really quite well. It's come out really quite well. I really struggled trying to stick this bit onto there, which is why I came up with this, and this bottom half's already quite thick, so now we need to add the fleece, and we can pop this to the side and start on the next bit. Right, so now we've finished our front panel, front of the bag. We are going to add the fleece. So you want the piece that has the zipper missing at the top. And we're going to just pull the zip through like so. And then, as it's not iron on, I'll give it a quick spray of spray adhesive. Just making sure I really get it stuck to this bit here. Ooh. Just because it's the thinnest part. And now, just onto that bit. There we go, and that's your front panel piece A done. And now we go on to the next part.